Hi friends! We've been doing lots of rainy day activities today because it has been pouring outside. I don't know about your house, but over here at the Stewart home, it has been a very wet day. So if you remember earlier, Silas and I did an experiment where we answered the question, how do clouds make rain? And we talked just a little bit about a big word called evaporation. Evaporation is when the water that's on the ground evaporates or rises and turns into gas because it's being heated by the sun. And when that water evaporates and rises from the earth and goes up into the sky, that water vapor condensates and turns into lots of water droplets inside a cloud. And when the cloud gets so heavy and so full of those water droplets, eventually the water comes back down to the ground in the form of precipitation or rain, or it could be snow or hail or sleet. Well, I thought we would talk a little bit more about the water cycle, and then I have a really cool experiment that we're going to do. But before we start with our experiment, I want to show you this video that I found online. It will explain the water cycle a little bit better. So we're going to watch it together. Does that sound good? I'm going to just move up my phone here so that you and I can watch this video together, okay? Let's get started. Can you see it okay? I hope so.
When you're thirsty, nothing is better than a nice cool drink of water. Oh, and it looks like my plant could use a drink of water too. Do you ever stop to think about where our water comes from? Sure, when you get a drink of water, it might come from a faucet or a bottle. And I get my flower here water from a watering can. But you know what? The water that comes out of the faucet and the watering can may once have been part of a cloud, or a snowflake, or even the ocean. Awesome, right? And it's because of something called the water cycle. Now, a cycle is a set of steps that repeat over and over. When you get to the last step in a cycle, you go back to the beginning and go through the steps again. For example, every year there are 4 seasons: spring, summer, fall, and winter. And when winter's over, it's time for spring again. We go back to the beginning of the cycle. In the water cycle, all of the water on Earth goes through a set of steps that repeat over and over. Let's start with a step in our water cycle where we open up our umbrellas. That's right, Squeaks, rain. Rain is water that falls from the sky. Some rainwater soaks into the ground, but a lot of it flows into little creeks and streams and then ends up in rivers, lakes, and eventually the ocean. And then something really interesting happens. Some of this water changes. You might have noticed that after it rains, some water is left on the ground, like in puddles that you can jump in. But what happens to all that water? It seems like it's there one day, but then after a little while, it's gone. Well, that water didn't just disappear. When the sun comes out and the ground gets warm, water can change into a different form. We call this form water vapor. And water vapor is a gas. The air we breathe, it's a bunch of different gases mixed together. And like the gases that make up air, you can't see water vapor gas. When the sun shines on rivers, lakes, and oceans, some of the water changes into water vapor. And then the water vapor goes up high, very high, up into the sky. And it gets pretty cold up there. So when the water vapor gets high enough, it starts to get cool. And as water vapor cools down, it changes back into little drops of liquid water. You can actually see water vapor change into water drops right at home. All you need is a mirror or window and your mouth. Put your face close to the mirror or window. Open your mouth nice and wide and breathe out. What happens? The glass gets foggy. That's because there's water vapor in your warm breath. And when the water vapor in your breath touches the cool glass, it changes into teeny tiny droplets. A lot of the droplets together make the glass look cloudy. And up in the sky, a lot of water droplets together make clouds. When there's a lot of water in a cloud, the cloud starts to get darker. White fluffy clouds start to turn gray. And as the clouds get grayer, the water in them gets heavier. When the water gets too heavy, it falls. right back out of the clouds as rain. And rain is where we started in the cycle. We made it all the way back to the beginning. Now the water cycle can start all over again. All the water on our great big Earth goes through this same cycle over and over. It falls to the ground as rain or snow, and soon the water ends up in a river, lake, or ocean. From there, it heats up and turns into vapor. And when the vapor rises into the sky and cools off, it comes right back down. So the water that you drink and the water that's in my watering can right now might once have been part of a raindrop that fell into the ocean on the other side of the world. Think about that the next time you take a drink. Thanks for joining us on SciShow Kids. Do you have a question about the weather or anything else? Ask a grown-up to help you. Leave a comment below or send us an email to kids@thescishow.com. We'll see you next time here at the fort.
Awesome. Okay, friends, so while I get that paused here for a minute, now I want to explain to you the experiment that we're going to do. It's a water cycle experiment. You're going to need a Ziploc baggie, like this, a sandwich baggie. You will need some water and some blue food coloring, and then you'll need a black permanent marker, okay? Have Mom and Dad help you get those supplies together, and then we're gonna go ahead and get started. So you're gonna take your Ziploc bag. Now I'm putting it over top of a white piece of paper just so that you can see what I'm about to draw, okay? But you don't need the white piece of paper underneath. If you take your black permanent marker, what I want you to do is I want you to draw a sun up in the right-hand corner. So I made a circle, and then I'm going to make some rays for my sun. Going all the way around my sun. Remember, we need the sun because it's going to heat up the water that's on the earth, on the ground. So now we need to draw that water. I'm just going to make some smiley faces that are connected to make my water. There's my water that's on the ground. And now I'm going to draw a cloud in the left-hand side, or on the left-hand side. Go ahead and draw a cloud. Awesome. So we've got our sun that's going to heat up the water. We've got our water that's on the ground, and then we have our cloud. Remember, the clouds form because all that water vapor is collecting in the sky, and as it cools and it's condensating, that water vapor is turning back into water droplets, and it gets so heavy that it eventually comes back down to the ground. So we've got our Ziploc baggie. Now what we need to do is take that water that I had you get and some blue dye, and I want you to put just 2 drops of blue food coloring in your water. So I'm going to do that now. Even 1 drop would probably be enough. That turned the water blue pretty quickly. Okay, and then we're going to take that water, and moms and dads, this is where you need to help your child with this part. We're going to pour a little bit of this blue water into our Ziploc bag, okay? So I'm going to take this off for now. And we want to pour just a little bit of water into our Ziploc bag. I think that's good. I poured some water in there. And now I'm going to zip it shut, okay? Moms and dads can help you do that part. Make sure it's completely shut, okay? And then we're gonna take this bag, we'll call it our water cycle bag, and we wanna find a window where the sun is coming in really good, or it could be a glass door. So I'm going to move over here to a window that we have in our living room. You can come with me. And we are going to tape this water cycle bag to our window. See if you can see it there. Awesome. Now it looks like it stopped raining for a little bit and the sun's coming out just a little bit. What do you think is going to happen when the sun hits this water that's in our bags? Do you think that it might heat that water up and cause it to dry up and turn into gas, like that water vapor we learned about? Do you think that maybe if that water vapor is in the bag, it might rise just like the water outside as the sun hits it and turns it into gas? It starts to rise. Maybe the water in our bag will rise to the cloud that we drew here. Wouldn't that be cool? And then all that water vapor will turn into water droplets again. And maybe if there are so many water droplets in our cloud, it'll get so heavy that they might need to fall back down to our water. That would be pretty cool, wouldn't it? I think so. So I'm gonna leave my baggie up here. You can leave your water cycle bag on your window or your glass door at least for a whole day. I would probably leave it up there for a couple days. And we'll check back to see what happens, okay? Now, there's one more really cool thing that would be fun to do with the water cycle. How many of you have been doing some Go Noodle activities? Oh, I hope so, because Go Noodle is lots of fun. So if you go on to Go Noodle and you look up Blazer Fresh, that's one of the channels, Blazer Fresh, they have a really cool water cycle song that you can dance to. And it's got some big words in there like evaporation and condensation and precipitation, but that'll be a great challenge for my kindergarten friends. So look up Go Noodle, go to gonoodle.com, and when you get on there, go to Fresh Blazer and type in water cycle song and have lots of fun dancing and wiggling this afternoon, okay? Okay, bye for now.